Hello everyone, Zack here with RevZilla, and welcome to a very special edition of Daily Rider, where we learn about motorcycles as we ride. Our guest today is the Triumph Scrambler 400X. That is an all-new 398cc single-cylinder engine, and indeed an all-new platform for the company, meant to lower the barrier of entry to the Triumph brand while maintaining the style and quality that has come to define the company over the past few years. Is that possible with a budget-friendly bike? Will it be any good? And where the heck am I? Answers to all those questions and more coming up. Okie dokie, everybody. Here we are with the Scrambler 400X just about ready to go. Friendly reminder that this episode of Daily Rider is brought to you by RevZilla. The YouTube channel that you are watching is an e-commerce brand that sells things for you and your motorcycle. I work on the content team. We do our best to make fun, informative, entertaining videos for you to watch. And my colleagues over on the commerce side and the customer service side do their best to keep you coming back to RevZilla after you purchase something for you or your motorcycle. Some of the money that we make from selling gear for rider and bike goes into making these videos and sending me to faraway destinations, which you're about to discuss. So next time you need something for you or your bike, check out RevZilla.com. Okie dokie, everybody. The Scrambler 400X from Triumph. You'll notice a few things that are a little bit different than the normal Daily Rider. One, I'm in an alleyway next to a hotel in Delhi, India. This is an on-location Daily Rider shoot. Because this is the only place this motorcycle is available right now. So I'm going to ride across Delhi and talk about how this bike works. Plus, we're going to experience what it's like to ride in India, which I think will be fun for those of you who have not experienced it. The other thing you're going to notice is that this motorcycle is extremely dirty, and that's because my friend Spurgeon and I just rode this bike, as well as its sibling, the Speed 400, to the highest motorable road in the world, nearly 3,000 kilometers from Delhi into the Himalaya Mountains and back. During that trip, it got extremely dirty. I also learned a lot about the bike, which I'm hopefully able to convey to you during this ride. One of the other things I did was crash it. So you'll notice there's a little bit of damage to the crash bar, the pipe, the handguard. But, you know, it held tough, and it made it back from the Himalaya. I'm excited to tell you all what I learned. And yeah, like I said, hopefully give you a little taste of that traffic over there, which we'll dive into in just a moment. As for the bike, it is all new. Like I said, new platform for Triumph. This is a 398cc single-cylinder engine. It's basically put into a pretty standard, or I guess basic, steel tube frame. It has a bolt-on subframe, which is always a little touch of quality that you like to see. And there are some Triumph trademarks here, I think, not least of which the style, the sort of paint on the tank, the classic look of the tank and the seat and the round headlight. These are all kind of Triumph trademarks that the brand reaches for with its classic Roadster line, and have been transferred over to the Scrambler 400X, absolutely. If any of you out there saw my T100 Bonneville Daily Rider, you will remember that I commented on how nice I thought it was that the header pipe comes out of the engine and then sweeps directly back into the pipe with barely a noticeable catalytic converter under there. This one's a little bit more noticeable. You can see it's sort of hidden behind this little heat shield, and the piping runs back here underneath the engine. It gets a little bit more obvious, but if you stand back, the idea is the same, that it just looks like a single pipe. And despite the things that modern motorcycles have to have that make them look a little bit uglier sometimes, it looks sharp. As for suspensionry, this is a 43 mil upside down fork that has slightly more suspension travel than its sibling, and the shock's pretty basic. It does have preload adjustment, but yeah, the suspension is fairly basic, as you'd expect to see on a bike like this. The braking components are, it's a 4-piston radial mounted caliper by Brie, which is the Brembo subsidiary. By Brie caliper is often found on more budget-friendly bikes, especially those that are made in collaboration with Indian companies, such as this one, or, for example, the KTM RC390, I believe, has a Brie caliper. 19-inch front wheel, did I not mention that? Gives it sort of a scrambler look, and of course, a little bit more capability if you are off the road, which I did a fair amount of in the past week or two here in India. We're going to go from here in near downtown, just south of New Delhi, out to the burbs where the Triumph building is located in Delhi. So we're not commuting to my work, but we're going to commute across town. We're going to learn a thing or two about Delhi traffic, and of course, a bunch of stuff about this bike. So let's fire it up, shall we? Make sure I kill switch here. yeah, pretty simple little dash situation, and a simple little thump from the pipe. There you have it. Sound like a 400cc single? It should, because it is. All right, so something a little different here. I'm gonna have directions up on my phone because it probably won't come as a huge surprise to you that I don't know where I'm going. I mean, I know I'm going south out of the city, but I'm gonna need more help than that. So I'm gonna do my best not to get lost. And what else am I gonna do my best to do? I'm gonna do my best to look right and stay left, because everyone drives on the opposite side of the road that I'm used to here. Look right, stay left. Look right, stay left. Lots of traffic etiquette here that's different for me than back home. Hopefully I don't make a complete fool of myself. Okay, navigated my first intersection successfully, very exciting. And I think that means we should talk about some specs here on the old Triumph Scrambler 400X. So you got that 398cc single cylinder engine, as I said. I think claimed horsepower is about 40, which is pretty good. I would say, about standard for the class, or what you'd expect from an engine like this. What else we got? The seat height, I believe, is 32.8 inches. Gosh, I hope that's right. If it's not, again, we'll correct that on the screen. The seat height feels pretty approachable. I will say this bike feels big, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in sort of a complimentary way, considering the class of bike. You know, sometimes if you're a full-size person, like I am, 6'2" and 200 pounds, I feel like I don't know, it just feels kind of toy-like, right? The bike underneath me on a 400cc class machine. But this one feels bigger than that. If you're a shorter rider, you might find the seat height to be a little bit intimidating, but I think in general, it's a pretty good balance of being approachable and full size at the same time. The fuel tank holds 3.4 gallons of gas, and the claimed weight when that tank is full, or full-ish, is 394 pounds, I believe. For what it's worth, I think the claimed weight feels low. I think it feels like a 400-pound bike at least. My buddy Spurjo disagrees. He thinks that the Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400 feel fairly light, which, you know, maybe he's right, maybe I'm right. Again, we'll report back as soon as we can. Slide up next to this gal on her scooter, and you can see the bend I have in my leg is not huge for a 400 class bike. I can flat foot pretty easily, but if you're under 6 feet, you might not be able to, which I suppose, you know, for a scrambler, maybe that's appropriate. I don't know. That guy doesn't wait for red lights. He's got too much stuff to do. There's a countdown on the red light. You can see it's at 6, 5, 4, and when the countdown gets low, everybody gets very, very excited. And I can understand it. I kind of like the countdown, but it does make everybody antsy in their pantsy, you know? So I touched a little bit on what the Scrambler 400X feels like to sit on, yeah, like I said, it feels substantial in kind of a nice way. The bar is fairly wide and commanding. It's fairly upright, which I really like. My one complaint about the seat is not the height of the seat, but rather the pitch and padding. So I feel like the seat pitches forward a little bit, and then you end up sitting on the front of the seat and there's not much padding up there. It's not terrible, but I don't know. Like I said, I spent a long time on this bike in the past number of days, nearly 2,000 miles, and my butt got kind of tired of the seat. Granted, it is not a touring motorcycle, so perhaps it should not be expected to keep my buns that comfy, but I think if it was just a little flatter, the seat might be a little taller, but also a little bit more comfortable. Check out my man's saddlebags. Those are burly. That's a lot of capacity for such a small machine. One thing I'd like to say on the topic of traffic in Delhi is that, well, let me just say that it is undeniably chaotic, and it can be very overwhelming for, I think, any Westerner. But I do kind of like the vibe, which is that you honk a lot, which, you know, it can be a little bit grating at first, but everyone just kind of goes where they want to go, and there never really seems to be any animosity or, you know, just like anger or rage at all. It's always just kind of like, hey, I'm over here, I'm honking my horn, I'm just letting you know I'm here. But I appreciate that it works, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. What? How was I supposed to go that way? Jeez Louise and jeez, I went the wrong way again. Let me go right and then... No, don't turn around. Son of a... Oh my God. How am I... Going the wrong way yet again. Okie doke. Now that we're on the open road, such as it is normally we talk about, you know, highway manners on Daily Rider. And I did already complain about the seat for long distance comfort, which take that with whatever grain of salt you'd like to. In general, though, the bike's riding position and sort of general demeanor is pretty good on roads like this. Now, it's hard for me to test the Scrambler 400X in a way that I might use it in Los Angeles, for example, because yeah, well, I'm not going as fast, right? And most of this trip I spent under 60 miles an hour, which is really where this bike is quite happy, I think. Up to 100 kilometers an hour, the engine feels pretty smooth. Above that, I think it gets a little bit buzzy, and I think on an American freeway, if you wanted to go 75, 80 miles an hour, it might feel a little bit strained. But in general, the engine is smooth and reasonable and provides a good kick of power for what it is. You know, it's not a horsepower monster, and single cylinder engines, especially large ones, are not famously smooth, but this one does okay, especially, like I said, at, you know, 55, 60, 65 mile an hour speeds. Oop, supposed to move left across 96 lanes. Oop, ends up 7 up. Well, I suppose that about this time we could talk about fuel range. With a 3.4 gallon tank, we got more than 240 miles, Spurge and I each, out of the old Scrambler and Speed, which is pretty good, I would say. The Scrambler 400X and also the Speed 400, not exactly touring motorcycles. I don't think that's what Triumph had in mind, but I like to see a good amount of range from a motorcycle. And you can see, eagle-eyed viewers will be able to see anyway, that I am at 356 kilometers on this trip here, and I still have 1 bar of fuel left. We're well over 200 miles at this point. We still got fuel left in the tank, so yeah, pretty good fuel range. But I think, I mean, more than 200 miles of range for a bike this size is more than acceptable. In this environment, we also sometimes on Daily Rider talk about mirrors, and the mirrors on the Speed 400 are pretty good. I often say that you know, classically styled bikes with round mirrors sometimes give up a little bit of functionality because of the shape of the mirror, and I would say that's true in this case. But in general, not too bad. Okay, the old Suzuki Ertiga is coming over. Yeah, the mirrors in general aren't too bad. This one is broken, as you can probably tell, and that is not the fault of the motorcycle, but rather the fault of the rider. Like I said, I crashed this bike on the way back from the highest motorable road in the world, and I cracked the mirror. I will say this, even with broken glass, not the worst mirror I've ever used. So you know, take that for what it's worth. Big Royal Enfield single ahead of us here with flowers on the back. Fella's headed to the house of some lucky lady. Also lots of those old Royal Enfields here. Love the vintage sound of the old style single. Now, I did mention that that I felt like the bike was going to feel a little bit strained at American highway speeds, and that might be true. Of course, sometimes I talk about gearing bikes up, and I think that's something that I would do provided the gearing was the same for this bike in the United States. It's a 43 tooth rear sprocket on there right now. I'm curious to see if the bikes have smaller rear sprockets or even 1 tooth larger in the front for other markets, but if not, I would probably recommend just gearing it up a little bit. I feel like first gear is very low and not really useful unless you're going to ride off-road a lot. All right, we're coming up on a toll gate, and consequently, one of my favorite things about riding in India, which is that while most of the multi-wheel vehicles go through the toll gate, not including these small hatchbacks, motorcycles just go around. Why would motorcycles pay tolls? Doesn't make any sense. I appreciate that India subscribes to this belief, and I've gone around every toll gate here, I think. And I hope that I'm not about to get 1,000 tickets in the mail. Exiting the highway here, and a little break in the guardrail. Exited a little early actually, but I don't know, I don't want to miss my turn, so I'm jumping off here. Cows in the road, also very common. Just sweeping the intersection. Interesting priority. Okie doke, we are off the highway, back onto surface streets. There are not a lot of stop signs or stoplights. As we saw, we only made a couple stops. So the old round town challenge that we normally do on Daily Rider will be a little tricky, but as we slow up here, we'll talk a little bit about balance and poise at low speed. I'm freaking these people out. In general, the low-speed manners of the Scrambler 400X are quite good, I think. The thing that I like least about the bike, I think, is a lot of driveline lash. If you're not keen about pulling the clutch in and that kind of thing, you will find that the chain and the driveline kind of like lash back and forth a little bit, which is a little bit of an un-Triumph kind of thing. When you do start working the clutch, I think the clutch feel is pretty good. It works pretty well. Oh, I stalled it. That's really unfortunate. Perhaps you'll start to see what I mean about the gearing right now, though. Like, I'm in second gear and just putting along here. Like, this could be first, and then I think the highway gearing would be a little bit better. Neither here nor there, really, but throwing it out there. Behind the delivery vehicle, but I'm gonna go for it anyway. I spun tire a little bit over that pile of sand, which reminds me that the Scrambler 400X does have switchable traction control, which is nice, and an off-road mode, which allows you to turn off rear ABS, which we'll just like stop and turn that on now, because if anything, at this point, I should be talking about the off-road shortcut, because that's essentially what we're doing, though I did not necessarily have that in mind. So TTC on, if you hold down this button over here for a little while and then let it go, it'll say TTC off, and you get a little TC logo on the dash, which is kind of nice. Off-road mode, I think you have to hold down this button again, and then you say off-road on, and then you hold it down a little bit longer to exit that menu, and then you get a little ABS warning on the light, along with the gas light, which is finally on. The thing, okay, I'm in the way, that's fair. Now that I'm in off-road mode, I can't see my trip meter or any of the information that's on this dash here, and it doesn't seem to matter how many times I press the info button over here, I can't see anything. It just says off-road, which is useful in some ways and not useful in other ways. Anyway, now traction control is off, and we are trundling through the dirt here on the old Scrambler 400X. I'm going to use my horn, see if I can get past this person. Huzzah! And yeah, you know, it's not a dirt bike, right? It's not a full-on dirt bike with super high-end suspension or tons of suspension travel. But if this is the kind of thing that you want to do, it's pretty well behaved. And I think the riding position that I discussed earlier speaks to this kind of riding too. You just feel like you're in command. You're a little bit upright, You can stand on the foot pegs if you want to and not be hugely uncomfortable. It's a pretty good, yeah, it's a pretty good little setup. I gotta keep the directions going here. I'd hate to get lost. Oh no, oh no, oh no. This is pretty serious mud here, everybody. Oh boy, am I in for it. Oh, yeah, okay, well this is more of a little bit more of an off-road shortcut than I had in mind, if I'm being honest. Oh, this person in the little Suzuki minivan thing is just gonna go for it. Why not? Makes me feel pretty soft for thinking that that was hard. Yeah, spinning tire, getting scrambled. I mean, I wish this off-road shortcut was every daily rider. That was awesome. Mud, sand, dirt, you name it. Gonna go slow through this person's dooryard. All right, coming off the dirt road shortcut here and back onto paved streets. Evidently, I'm a little bit less lost than I was before, though not much. Whew, and I'm breathing hard a little bit. It's very hot, despite being early in the morning. And, you know, I just rode through that mud hole, got my blood pumping. We're gonna hang a left here. There are two different ways we're gonna hang a left. I'm gonna follow the rickshaw full of people. And let's call this Lover's Lane, shall we? We saw that guy back there with two young ladies on the back of his motorcycle. That's as good a reason as any to talk about passenger accommodations here on the Scrambler 400X, which in some ways are better than the rider's seat accommodations, if you will, because I like the flatness of the seat a little bit better, and I feel like the padding is a little bit more consistent. But it is a small perch, and I think passengers will not be, I don't know, hugely comfortable for long periods of time on the Scrambler 400X. But it's not a complete afterthought, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think the legroom is sort of fine. And the seat has a little bit more padding than I was expecting when I first plopped down on it. So yeah, hopefully that helps inform those of you who want to take long or short trips with a passenger on the Triumph Scrambler 400X. Okay, coming up to a roundabout here, which should be very exciting, I assume. And it's going to have to stand in for our twisty road section of Daily Rider, because we haven't really found any twisty roads for real here in Delhi. So the roundabout will have to be our twisty road. You know what? Let's go around more than once, just for the heck of it. If you do ride the Scrambler 400X on a twisty road, you will find perfectly good handling, I think. It feels just fine. If you were to jump directly onto the Speed 400, as I did, riding with my buddy Spurjo, the speed will feel suddenly much lighter, and I think a lot of that has to do with the tires, which here in India this bike is equipped with MRF steel brace K, if I'm remembering correctly, and I think Metzler Carews are supposed to come on this bike in North America. So I think the tires will make a big difference, and I think the tires are one of the reasons that this bike does not handle as well as it could, because I think that rear tire has kind of a flat profile, which holds the bike upright and makes it a little bit harder to tip in. Still, it's a small bike and has a wide handlebar and a commanding riding position, so it's not going to feel super high effort unless you get on something that has even lighter handling, in which case you'll notice that this is a little bit heavy. All right, we're almost to our desto, and I suppose that means we should experiment with a wheelie and a little back in. I haven't tried a lot of wheelies on the Scrambler, especially at high elevation, where I took this bike on that long road trip, because, you know, high elevation, the bike was making less power and it was not as good at wheelies. Let's see if we can find a little open stretch road. We're gonna peel off onto this larger street, and we'll see if we can get a wheelie and a back end in. This might be just about as clear as a road gets to try and do a wheelie. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. That's not bad. That's not bad, little scramblosis. Okay. Not bad at all. Second gear even. When I was at the highest motorable road in the world on the Scrambler, I tried to do a wheelie in first gear, and it was all I could do to get the front wheel up. All right, we're just gonna flip a U-ey here. And we are almost there, kiddos. Let's see, where's Triumph? Here they are. Let's see if we can get a little back in here. Yeah. All right, we have arrived. That was quite an episode. Arriving at Triumph. Look at that. Thanks, Google. Really appreciate that. What a wild ride that was. Eh? We splattered a little bit more mud on the bike. That actually reminds me that these rubber inserts come out of the foot pegs. If you want to do more off-roading such as that, you can pop those out, and the little teeth on the metal foot peg would probably help you have a little bit more traction. Also, another thing that reminds me of is the cooling fan kicked on here. It is quite hot, but the cooling fan runs pretty often on this bike, and I don't think that that's I don't know, anything that I'm ready to condemn the bike for wholesale, but it is curious. I think the cooling fan runs a little bit more than I would expect. Anyway, one last listen to the engine here. I think it sounds kind of cool, you know? It's got a little snarl. I guess we'll see how the muffler and you know, emissions regulations and whatever affect the sound of the bike when it's in North America. But yeah, there you have it. And I'm very happy that we survived the old the trip across Delhi. It is an eye-opening traffic experience, as I said. Last thing I wanted to address here, I don't have any Instagram questions because this is a surprise episode. I'm not supposed to talk about it until it comes out in a few months. So I did not post on Instagram, and I did not get any questions from you all. But I would like to address a couple things. One, the price. I don't know what the price is right now. If we know it when this video is published, then we will put it on screen right now. And you can decide, is that a good deal for a Triumph Scrambler 400X in North America, or is it too expensive, or is it amazingly affordable? I don't really know. I guess I hope it's priced attractively, because I think it is an attractive bike, and I think it works well enough that it'll keep people happy. And the other thing I wanted to address here is the fact that it is, I don't know, as true as a Scrambler really gets in this category of motorcycle, and I think that's pretty cool. I think it kind of stands alone as an option for a small bore Scrambler bike. You know, Ducati had the Scrambler 62, was it? Maybe? And there might be, I suppose there might be another bike or two that I'm forgetting that, you know, you would cross shop with this bike. But I do think from a style standpoint and a capability standpoint, it sits in a good spot. I think it's an interesting thing for Triumph to shoot for, and I think the company did a pretty good job with the execution. Okay, that's it from Delhi, India. Thanks for hanging out with me here on this very toasty morning and riding across India. If you're not from India, I hope you got a kick out of seeing what traffic is like riding across another international city. And if you are from India and I broke a whole bunch of traffic rules, or I made a complete fool of myself, I am very sorry. I enjoyed your country very much, and I hope that I can visit again sometime in the future. For now, that's it. Let's transport ourselves back to the Daily Rider leaderboard and see where this sucker stacks up. See you later, everybody.
You're right, everybody. Here we are inside RevZilla West, back in California, just like that. As usual, I think the last Daily Rider I posted, the scooter carcass was here as well. Still plugging away on that. Mr. Airy has rebuilt the engine and most of the drivetrain. We got big plans for wheels, suspension, bodywork. I don't know what we're going to change. We're going to change that scooter. I'm not sure if we're going to change the world. The Triumph Scrambler 400X, the Delhi Rider, as it is known among the staff here, and hopefully you by now. Pretty good bike. Pretty good bike. I would like to reiterate the caveat that different course, you know, we rode through a different city than I normally do. And of course, that version of the bike that we rode in India was technically a pre-production model. So I mentioned the tires will be different when they come to North America. Gearing might be different. It probably won't have the guard on the left side of the wheel to keep a woman's sari from getting sucked into the drivetrain. There will be some differences, is the point. So where do we think it falls here? We're almost to the end of 2023 Daily Rider Leaderboard here, and there's a lot of good bikes. Is it better than a Hayabusa? It's not as exhilarating, that's for sure, but it's a fun bike and more reasonable in many ways, and arguably more versatile from the standpoint of adventuring and that kind of thing. We got a Honda CB500X here. That is a 500cc twin cylinder, mind you, but sort of adventure bike, not scrambler, but adventure bike. Similar size, similar sort of ideals behind the design of the bike anyway. The Triumph Scrambler 400 is not as good as that bike though. I'm gonna give the nod to the CB500X. So that means we're gonna fall somewhere in here. Kawasaki Ninja 400. Is the Scrambler 400X better than a Kawasaki Ninja 400? No, it's too, it's just been around too long. The reputation's too good. It's too dynamic and fun. It's got a smiley face, for crying out loud. So I'm gonna give the nod to that bike, which means comes down to Scrambler 400X versus CF Moto 450 SS. Now this is an interesting little quandary because the CF Moto 450 SS is a pretty good bike. We've all agreed here around the RevZilla offices that it's a fun bike, works well, and has some features even that the Ninja 400 does not, as we covered in the Daily Rider. But I kind of gave the nod to the Ninja 400 on account of the CF Moto being a little bit newer to the game, right? A little bit less of a known quantity. Triumph is a very old brand, very reputable. So on the face of it, you'd give Triumph the nod, or you'd give Triumph an equal shake as you would Kawasaki for something like that. However, the Scrambler 400X is not technically a Triumph built bike, right? This is a collaboration with Bajaj in India, which has shown an ability to build good motorcycles for other brands, KTM among them, but I am gonna ding it a little bit for that. The price is great for the Scrambler 400X. The build quality seems to be pretty good. The capability seems to be pretty good, but I'm gonna give Kawasaki the nod for that. Do I give the Chinese bike the nod over the Indian-built British bike? Going cross-eyed talking about geography here. Where I'm going with this is it's kind of up to you to decide how much you think that matters and how much you think it will ultimately affect your motorcycling experience. I am going to give the nod to the CF Moto, actually, on account of the technology that it incorporates, and for the same reasons that the Ninja 400 is quite a versatile and engaging and fun motorcycle. I think the Scrambler 400X is quite good. I don't think sitting next to a CF Moto 450 in the garage that I would take it that much more often. I mean, I don't think I would take it more often. Arguably not a great place to land on the board, but all these bikes up here are just too refined, too good. I mean, Kawasaki Eliminator is not too refined, but that's a super approachable bike, great engine, ultimately a great daily rider. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's a fair shake for the Triumph Scrambler 400X. And if you have a Hayabusa, I do apologize. Stay tuned. One or two more daily riders in 2023 here, and then we will be off into yet another year and yet another leaderboard for 2024. I hope you enjoyed that little taste of riding in India and a little unfiltered review of the Scrambler 400X. As usual, hope you had fun, hope you learned something, and hope to see you next time. See you, everybody.
Another thing I'll say for Indian traffic is that blinker usage is actually surprisingly prevalent. Now, sometimes the blinkers can be confusing because a right turn signal, for example, sometimes means that the person is going to turn right, and sometimes it means that they're suggesting that you pass them. Considering, again, the chaos of it all, I am surprised at how much people use their blinkers. Look at that guy, he's going across traffic. Be careful, dude. Holy smokes.